LPM, we are equality. We speak equality, and we will bring equality to Namibia.
A very good morning to everybody who is watching. Hilma Goss is here, spokesperson of the LPM Youth Command Element Yunnan branch. And I have my colleague over here who will also just do a formal introduction of herself. And we will move into today's topic, which is rape and gender-based violence. We are going to go over these matters which have been surging, and rape has been a rise in our communities, and has been a concern for us on the way forward. We need answers and we need a way forward. So I will give over to my colleague who will just do a brief introduction of herself, and we will dive into today's discussion.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Alhumus. I'm the Secretary for Gender Affairs for LPM Youth Command. So, as my colleague here said, we are going to speak on gender-based violence and rape culture that's basically an epidemic in Namibia right now.
So let's dive right into it. What is rape? So rape is defined basically as an unlawful act which happens without somebody giving their consent. So why have we been experiencing a huge rise of rape in Namibia? Why have we been having young teenage girls under the age of consent, which is known to be 14 in Namibia, being raped by the mere men who are supposed to protect them? These are our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, and our fathers. What have we done as women to be treated the way we are treated? Women have fought to be accepted in society for so long. Women have tried their utmost best to stand in society as pillars. We have raised, we have given birth, we have given life. Why is it that we are being raped? Are we asking for it? Is it our dress attire that says it's okay to be raped? We have men saying that when a woman says no, she actually means yes. Are those the reasons that this is happening? When and why? I'll give over to my colleague to give her stance on what we are basically discussing right now.
As we all know, basically, recently we've been reading and hearing about a lot of rape cases. Imagine a mentally impaired girl being raped by her own family member, which she trusted and trusted. Yeah, these are the type of things that are extremely disheartening. And I'm not generalizing, but men should be extremely careful when they think they are having consensual sex, and knowing that the lady didn't say yes or not being certain. These are the type of things that will actually get you into trouble as well.
Knowing that Namibia is a 90% Christian society, the death sentence was outruled. The maximum sentence for a rape convict is life imprisonment, if it is serious, they say. So does it vary from serious to not serious? I feel like there's no serious to non-serious rape cases. Every rape case is very serious. You are taking away from this person something that you will never give them back. Is it a psychological issue then, should we say? Do our men need a conference where they should be educated about consent, consensual consent? What then do our men need from us? How can the nation then help our men to understand that when a woman says no, she says no? When a mentally unstable woman how does a normal man rape a mentally unstable 15, 14-year-old woman? How does a 2-month-old baby ask to be raped? Is it a psychological issue? What is it then? We ask our Namibian men. Moving forward, how can we address this? How do we bring an end to this? How do we decrease the cases of rape? How do we help our men then? How do we educate our women? Our women are very educated nowadays. It is known that women are more than men. Do we then focus on the men to educate them further, to dismantle the masculinity that they've learned over the years and course of time? I'll give over to my colleague so we can go through possible solutions to how we can possibly decrease the rape cases which are increasing in our country.
Um, as Hilma said there, I honestly don't know how we can help these men if they can't help themselves or something like that.
So I'm just going to continue how we can possibly stand against rape culture. Rape culture is pervasive. It is embedded in the way we think, speak, and move in the world. While the context may differ, rape culture is always rooted in patriarchal beliefs, power, and control. Rape culture is a social environment that allows sexual violence to be normalized and justified, fueled by the persistent gender inequalities and attitudes about gender and sexuality. Naming it is the first step to acknowledging and dismantling rape culture. Every day we have the opportunity to examine our behaviors and beliefs for biases that permit rape culture to continue. From the attitudes we have about gender identities to the policies we support in our communities, we can all take action to stand against rape culture. By creating a culture of enthusiastic consent, like we said, it is okay to talk about it. It is okay to sit your partner down and ask, is it okay if we can do this and that? And it's also okay, man, if she says no. It does not take from you. It does not break your ego. Speak against the root causes. If you men do not educate each other, nobody else can. A woman cannot come into your world and tell you how to act, but a man can do it better than a woman could ever. So we need men to stand up. We need men to talk to each other. We need men to counsel each other. Therapy is okay. It does not indicate that you are mentally unstable. No. We all need help at some point. If you have thoughts that you think are not okay towards the opposite sex, it is okay to talk to a brother, to talk to somebody who would understand, that you trust. Speak out. That's where change begins. Redefine masculinity. How do we embody masculinity? Self-reflect. Have community conversations, because that's where it all begins. Where we tell our boys that it's okay to treat a girl a certain way, that it's okay to do this, you will not get punished for it. We need to break down the structures that we've built from way back to tell our boys that you don't treat a girl this way or this way. You ask. Because boys have been taught that what they say is final, that they are the heads of the houses. And somehow that is toxic masculinity, because they grow up to be men who enforce power. Also, Namibia can introduce a curriculum module that teaches young men and women about consent, inappropriate activities that might lead to possible rape, how to treat and respect each other. By doing this, they will broaden the understanding of rape culture. It is okay for her to say no, like I said. without any erupted emotion, because her no doesn't crush your ego. Because now we know better, and now we teach our boy child that no doesn't crush your ego. No is okay, and no does not mean yes. If my colleague wants to add something to what I've already said and mentioned, I will hand over to her.
I want to talk about something else. Besides talking about men, the damage that is done to the young lady or the young woman or women in general is that it affects them psychologically. So basically, when such a thing happens, when the lady is molested from the age of 6, 7 until 16, when it's hard for them to get involved with men as well, because it triggers emotions and wounds that were never healed. So yeah, these are the things that we need to deal with as well, helping young ladies to go for counseling and stuff, because the after effect is very great and immense.
We move on to gender-based violence. What is gender-based violence? We have seen gender-based violence happen in our homesteads. We have seen gender-based violence happen in our communities. We have seen gender-based violence happen in our lives. Well, gender-based violence is normally what happens between intimate partners. It is a grievous act. It can never be condoned for. We know in Namibia that every person's dignity has to be respected. Their body, however, is not a punching bag. We all have rights, and those rights should be implemented, should be practiced. Why then do we keep quiet as women when these perpetrators proceed with their acts, with their gruesome acts? It cannot be condoned for. Why do women keep quiet? Is it because they are the fathers of our children and we so badly want a family? Is it because we are ashamed because of how it is stigmatized? Why do we keep quiet? How do we deal with these perpetrators if we as women do not speak up? Let's create a culture. Let's create a community where it is okay for women to speak up, where it is okay for a woman to come and talk to the next sister without her being judged, without her being discriminated. How do we then put an end to gender-based violence? Because statistically, in 2013, there was a study done by the Namibian police, and I read as follows. The Namibian demographic health survey in 2013 indicates that 33% of ever married women aged 15 to 49 years have experienced physical, sexual, and or emotional violence from their partner. 32% of adolescent girls aged 15 to 19 and 35% of young girls aged 20 to 24 have experienced physical violence from a partner. During 2012 and 2016, the Namibian police identified 5 top prevalent violence reported in the country as assault, grievous bodily harm. 22,174 reported cases of grievous bodily harm. 18,054 common assault. 239 attempted murder and 734 murder cases. Now that was in 2012 to 2016. This is exacerbated by condoning society's attitude towards gender-based violence. 28% of women and 22% of men aged 15 to 49. Now this is a survey that was done. 22% of men aged 15 to 49 justified that beating is an acceptable way for a husband to discipline his wife. Now I quote, it says, the men justified that beating their significant other was acceptable as a manner to discipline their wives or significant others. Now this is the way that our men have been programmed. Told that if you hit her, it shows a sign of love. It shows that you're disciplining her. She will respect you then after that. And our women somehow believed that, and believed that when he slaps me, when he beats me, he loves me. That is not love. Love is not expressed by beating or by dragging you through the floor or by breaking a glass over your head. That is indeed violence, and it could end in death. I will give over to my colleague. I do not condone violence. I speak to every woman sitting and watching that it is okay to speak up, that it is okay to leave that relationship.
I've seen that we have status and masochist relationships these days. When satyrs and masochists come together, it's very dangerous because one person likes receiving pain and the other one likes to inflict pain on others. That's very dangerous. You will find ladies that will provoke a guy to beat them. Stop it. Seriously. It will later lead into death. Yeah, and I don't know if it's psychological thing that men grow up with, beating someone, like seeing their fathers beating their mothers as well. So these are the type of things we should also look into.
Also, I forgot to mention the types of abuse and violence that can happen in gender-based violence. There are 3 types, which are physical violence, sexual violence, and psychological violence. Psychological violence falls under the verbal, where you say harmful words to the next person. How then do we work about finding possible solutions to end gender-based violence? Do you want to maybe read this, or thank you? I'll give over to my colleague so she can just go over.
One of them would be funding women's full participation in civil society. Women who are active in civil society can be highly effective in influencing global, regional, and national treaties, agreements, and laws in exerting pressure to ensure their implementation. More money needs to flow towards supporting women's active participation in civil society. The other one would be scaling up prevention efforts that address unequal gender power relations and root cause of gender-based violence. There is some programs have effectively structured participatory activities that guide the examination of gender norms and their relationships to power inequalities, violence, and other harmful behaviors. They work with multiple stakeholders across socio-ecological spectrum and across multiple sectors. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'll just slide to it.
Oh, and the third one will be addressing the needs of child survivors, including interventions to disrupt the gender-based violence cycle. In shelters and services of women, it is common to see children of all ages waiting in rooms or safe houses, but it is rare to see someone working with these children. who have experienced traumatic events, sometimes they are victims, but most likely they are witnesses to violence against their mothers. We lack trained professionals to work with children who have experienced such gender-based violence, especially when perpetrators are their own family members.
So as we come to an end, I would just like to make a brief statement. I was fortunate enough to sit under a teaching of CEDAW, organization that stands for Women's Rights and fights for women's rights, a United Nations-based organization. And men were invited to that program event as well. And men expressed how much they would love such programs to be introduced and more men to be invited to such programs and be educated of the rights of women. I would urge the Namibian nation, if possible, to implement such programs where our men can sit down with each other and be dismantled and be taught and be advised on how to move forward. Thank you for watching, and I will hand over to my colleague.
As far as rape and gender-based violence goes, there are certain places where you can go if you need some counseling. There's a depression. There's a place where you can go for depression, help for depression at the Namibian Mental Health Association. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the comments and the views.